When you come to China, you would work. Yes, it's not so easy. You would work, and if you want to make value for yourself, you will make value for yourself. Prior to my coming to China, I had a lot of things that would have discouraged me, but I came and I'm happy I did because it helped me grow. I grew mentally, I grew academically, I grew. For instance, before I came here, yes, everyone knows Linda is outstanding academically, but my mindset towards studies, towards research is different, is more improved. Like the way I see research now is not like the way I do see it while in Nigeria. So when you come, have the right mindset, know that you're coming to give value for yourself, for your country, for your continent, and for the world. Ensure you have aim, know that it's for you. Maybe that will help you do better. So China is a
So thank you very much, everyone. A very good evening to you all. My name is Emmanuel. Compliments of the season to you all. And for this night, we just want to have a look at assessing scholarships in China, especially for the 2023-2024 academic session. I'm very, very grateful to all of you and to everyone, especially Dr. Gales, Dr. Linda, Dr. Matthew, and to myself. We are doing this for our brothers back home, for Africa, for the world at large. It's our time, it's our resources, it's our energy, and we are most very, very grateful for it. I think humanity will remember us for this. Thank you very much. So for the purpose of this video, it's just it's a free content. It's not going to be there won't be any infringement on this video. So it's going to be open information for scholars, for prospective students back home, and then it's going to be widely played instead of everybody. Oh, you are in China. Can you just tell me how to apply, how to do all of that? This video could also be used to, could you watch this or something like that? And then if any one of you also have a YouTube channel, we can share the videos with them also, so that we can have a wider accepted view of this video. So we quickly go to the business of the day. We're just going to be rotating the circle, and I hope that it's going to be, it's not a serious video. We are just going to play around it, and then we are just going to have fun of it. I'm never a serious guy.
I don't like being serious as well.
Yeah. What up, Linda?
one
I think
little
Linda is
girl.
serious. Yeah. Maybe Matthew. I'm sure Matthew is not also going to be serious.
So Matthew can be serious whenever it comes to activism.
Oh yeah.
To another move, in another world when it comes to activism.
Yeah. So Linda, thank you for joining us tonight. Can you just give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Okay, it's nice to be here. Thank you so much, Dr. Emma, for inviting me. And I would like to say Happy New Year to everyone listening to me. So I am Chidimma Chiamaka Linda. People call me Linda because it's easy to call, easy to pronounce. So I was a CSE scholar from 2019 to 2022. I'm a scientist with a great vision to contribute to United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. So far my research and my activities circle towards education, health, and environment. So that is Linda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Good to have you. Dr. Yomi, you just tell us a brief introduction of yourself.
Thank you very much. It's good to have everyone, smiling at me as I'm, looking at your faces. Yeah, and it's good, to have us again in 2013. I mean, 2023 rather, 2023. So my name is Abayomi Gaius Oshotui. Oshotui is my family name. Abayomi is my first name, and Gaius is my middle name. So some people call me Yomi. That's the short form of Abayomi, and some people call me Gaius. So it's so whichever you feel convenient to call Abayomi, Yomi, Gaius. Currently, I'm studying, on my PhD program in the University of Science and Technology of China, and I'm a geophysicist. So I've been practicing for quite some time, and now we are back in school. Uh, what we call side hustle in Nigeria. So geophysics is a major and a side hustle. Sometimes when I'm involved in some other things, it becomes a side hustle, and sometimes when we do it full time, it's a full hustle. So and I'm currently studying on the CASTOAS, the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and the World Academy of Sciences joint as presidential fellowship in USTC. What else do I need to say about myself? Well, I'm passionate about the environment. I'm passionate about natural disasters, and I'm passionate about people, as well. Because when we talk, when we deal with the environment or deal with natural disasters, uh, the people are the most, touched. The environment can naturally regenerate itself, but the people, once a man is gone, the man is gone. So, and actually, that is what my research. My research is in seismology, so that's what my research, is focused on. Uh, Maybe for now, that's what I can say about my. I'm married.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Dr. Matthew, over to you.
Thanks so much. It's a great pleasure, and also I count it a good opportunity to be called upon to a gathering like this, the gathering of the scholars. So without much ado, I am Matthew. That's I think the easiest name that you know come to be my name in China. So, but my full name is Jayola Matthew Ademola. So I just like others, I also am a doctoral student here in China, a PhD scholar, studying at Harbin Engineering University. I'm currently doing my PhD in nuclear engineering. Of course, I had just to cement my previous field, which is a master's in nuclear engineering. I'm also happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's so guys out there, you can see that we brought scholars, experienced people who have lived quite a number of years in China to you all. Uh, from from the most accessible scholarship like CSC to CAS tours, which is now and so, and then we didn't just even bring people who are just new to the system. We brought experienced scholars who have got quite a number of scholarship and have experience in application and all of that to you. So join us, pay attention to everything they are going to say. Don't just miss a line. Pay attention. I'm very sure that we welcome you to China by August, September, of course, to maybe to November this year again. We are doing it for you, and make sure that you also share with your loved ones, your friends. In our place, they said that God can give everyone everything. So you don't need to keep this information for yourself. Share it. So many opportunities you are going to get, of course. in this process. So thank you, everyone. Linda, could you tell us about China? Maybe you want to tell us about the currency, the weather, the lifestyle. How has it been on you? Like, for real, let people know that China is not a bad country to live in, especially for students.
Thank you so much. So, to talk about China is actually encompassing because it's a very big country, Yeah, and it's really growing recently. So, there are so many things that make China a beautiful country and also make it stand out from the rest, such as if we want to talk about some of the famous things, we talk about the Great Wall of China. We also talk about the food in China. So it's so interesting to know that based on regions, there's some kind of variety you get when you demand for food. Like if you go to the north of China, if you like salty food, then you're at the right place. If you go to the western part of China, if you want to buy halal, like the Muslims, you're in the right place. You have them in abundance. If you go to the central China, if you want spicy food, like people like Linda that like spicy food, so you're at the right place. So if you go to the eastern part of China, if you like sweet and sour food or sweet and light food, you're at the right place. If you go to the south of China, if you like sour food, you're at the right place. So this is how beautiful China is when it comes to food. And very common in China is their noodles, the Chinese noodles and then dumplings. So aside from food, we also have the some nice sceneries like the Forbidden City in China, which happens to be like the biggest imperial palace in the world. We also have the Yangtze River, which also happens to be the longest river in Asia. So there's panda, this panda we see on TV and movies. It's a lot here in China. And also we have the Kung Fu. If you remember
Yeah.
the Yakshan thing. So people practice Kung Fu. So all these things make China an amazing country.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It's so guys out there, you can see that we brought scholars, experienced people who have lived quite a number of years in China to you all. Uh, from the most accessible scholarship like CSE to CAS tours, which is now and so, and then we didn't just even bring people who are just new to the system. We brought experienced scholars who have got quite a number of scholarship and have experience in application and all of that to you. So join us, pay attention to everything they are going to say. Don't just miss a line. Pay attention. I'm very sure that we welcome you to China by August, September, of course, to maybe to November this year again. We are doing it for you and make sure that you also share with your loved ones, your friends. Uh, Dr. Gayos, could you just tell us how can we get supervisors in China? What are the requirements? What do we need to do? If you have country specific, especially for scholars from Nigeria, from any African countries, if you have, how do we get supervisors in many Chinese universities?
Thank you very much, for having me for having me here. And also, also I just want to commend Linda for that uh, elaborate elaborate
Yeah.
description of the life in China. Actually, it's quite the experience has been quite interesting, and at the same time, I will say it has come with mixed feelings as well. Yeah, but I wouldn't want to go to that. Maybe later on we can still have some talks around that. Yeah, yeah. About securing scholarships in China. Uh, in the course of my introduction, earlier I mentioned that uh, I'm on the CAS President Fellowship. And the interesting thing is that we happen to be in the last set, the last intake of the CASTWAS President Fellowship. So thereafter, after my set came in, it was maybe changed or stopped. Then something similar, came up, the ANSO scholarship. Yeah, but I want to say that there are no hard and fast rule when it comes to securing a scholarship. All right, but of course, there are some basic things that anyone intending to secure a place in on any of the scholarships, should do. Maybe getting your documents ready. That one is, for that fundamental. And policies change with time, so it's important that any applicant should get familiar with that. But before going to the document side of it, let me talk about how you can secure a supervisor. That one seems to me like maybe the most important, even though some schools would say you don't need to have a supervisor. Of course, I've met people who don't have an acceptance from a prospective supervisor, and they were picked. They got admitted, and they got scholarships. I will try as much as possible to be blunt and also be a little bit diplomatic. But of course, I will make my points known. It's like I'm acting too serious. I don't want to be too serious.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I want to talk to be as if I'm talking to Senator Maho, and coincidentally, not coincidentally, but by providence, Matthew is my blood cousin. So, so we've known each other. I don't know when. All right. So first, let's talk about securing a supervisor. The surest way, from personal experience, the surest way to secure a supervisor is through recommendation. Okay, through recommendation. If you know anyone in China, it's the same thing everywhere in the world. All right, if someone can speak for you, if someone can recommend you and vouch for you that, oh, that guy is always ready to work, he's always willing to learn. If someone can just speak for you, that is what worked for me. That's my own personal experience, because I remembered I applied to basically 2 schools, maybe Zhejiang University, I guess, and that's where Linda finished from. So I applied to Zhejiang University. A professor, applied. I mean, a professor accepted me there. All right, but we will have to take an entrance exams. So in the course of trying to write the entrance exams, connection, thing, the internet messed up, and I got, I guess, one of the subjects I couldn't write. Yeah, that's back in 2018 or maybe 2019, early 2019. Yeah. So number 1, recommendation. Number 2, this was how I got a supervisor in Zhejiang University. I saw the article of one young, maybe an associate professor, or maybe a researcher online, and I sent an email to him. Oh, I read this and this and this, and I would love to work with you. And in fact, he replied very swiftly, and he said that yes, I'll be willing to work with you. So what do you want to do? So in the course of our conversation, in the course of our exchange, so it was later when I sat back and I compiled all those things, then I was able to see that this is a complete research proposal. When I piece all those emails together, I did not find it hard to write a proposal, for research, because all the things I needed to put together to make a research proposal were in a conversation. They asked me, series of questions. Of course, I don't have to give him immediate response or immediate responses. I will have to maybe go and search, then, forward my response to him. And eventually, he said he would love to work with me, but he said he has left Zhejiang University to start, maybe to pick up a new appointment as maybe a professor, a full professor. He was a researcher, or maybe an associate professor an assistant professor or associate professor also in Zhejiang University. So he now said, well, because he's trying to, relocate, that would I want to follow him to his new school? When he mentioned the name of the school, I was like, I searched online and I couldn't. The school does not have a presence in. And back then, Zhejiang University was maybe was ranked maybe the fourth or the fifth. Zhejiang University ranked between maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 around that time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in China. So I thought, oh, it's better I stay in Zhejiang University. The school is at least a little bit more known compared to the other one. So I told him to recommend me to his boss in Zhejiang University. So eventually he recommended me to his boss, and his boss said, oh, you are welcome. You can work with me. I accept you. So eventually I went to search the name of that professor online. Then I saw 2 Nigerians in his lab. And I think Linda knows them very well, Dr. Okwe and what's the name of this guy? The other guy I think he's in Australia now, So eventually I was like, wow, Nigerians are there. So I searched for the name of those guys online, then got their emails, I sent an email to Dr. Okwe, and Dr. Okwe was like, wow, you're welcome, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, but what do I want to point to there? I want to make another point. Number 3 point. Professors tend to have affinity with maybe specific demographics. I don't know if you understand. Professors tend to have affinity. They tend to want to take students from a particular part of the world. If they've worked with some students before, they might, want to, if the students have really worked hard and have impressed them, they might want to, oh, maybe the people from your country, maybe they are just like you, they are hardworking like you. So can you recommend more people? Or when they see a mail of anyone introduce themselves from that same country, they have this natural liking for, that particular, maybe demographic or country. Now, let me cite another instance. I wouldn't mention the name of any country, but in my school, from my faculty, what we call faculty, in China we call it maybe School of Earth Sciences, School of Life Sciences, but in Nigeria we call it Faculty of, just like we use the American and the British system or something like that. So no, we use the British system, I think, in Nigeria. So in my school, in not my university, but my school, my faculty in my university, I'm so sorry to say, there are some people from a particular country that they don't want to admit because of very terrible antecedents. I wouldn't mention the name of the country, but you all know, I guess. My guys here all knows. They don't want to, because those guys see themselves as assistants, Chinese. So they feel they can do away with anything. So literally their attitude, maybe those they've worked with in the past. I'm not saying all of them. So maybe those they've worked with in the past, they are not maybe willing to learn, and blah, blah, blah. And they categorically told some of my senior colleagues that I met around that they don't want to take people from there. And I can tell you, people from, don't let me mention the name of the country, people from a particular part, of the world, they love to take them a lot, because I guess when they studied abroad, some of our professors, they had a lot of colleagues from that part of the world, and they feel these guys are always ready to learn. Even if they don't know something, they want to stay there and learn. So I guess it's an Nigeria precisely. So it's like they have an affinity, because I've met some of them and they're like, oh, my colleague is also place. Hey, he's a Nigerian. So they just assume, once they see you're a black guy in the department, they assume, oh, you must be from Nigeria. And because in our field, geosciences, I think Nigeria is one of the leaders in geosciences, actually, from a part of the world, in Africa. So we have a lot of Nigerians doing geosciences. So they tend to look more, to Nigeria. And of course, some of them are doing research in Africa. So also the research areas of some professors determine the kind of students they will pick. So that is why it is very, very important that students too male professors based on their areas of research or their research interest. So I will advise anyone that wants to maybe send an email, a cold email to any professor, try to check out their research background online. look at their papers and some of the things they've been doing in recent time, okay, and send an email to them. Look at their lab members. I think we can use ResearchGate. That works, okay? Look at their lab members and see what their lab members have been doing. Then send an email to them. Oh, you are interested in this. Maybe it has not been done in some parts of the world, because say, oh, you would love to adopt some of these things to maybe your country or maybe some other parts of the world where maybe such research has not been done before. I'm speaking as a geoscientist, because our research is, our researches are always geolocated. We can attach a longitude and a latitude to what we are doing. So that's why I'm talking about location. So that one is very, very important. So I've mentioned how many things, about maybe 3 or 4 things now. Recommendation, that is the sure banker, the surest banker. Let me use Nigerian English. Recommendation is very important, one. And 2, if you can get a recommendation, or you can also try to investigate, do we have any Nigerian? Do we have any Ethiopian? Do we have any South African? Do we have any anyone from Malawi in so school, depending on the country you come from? So you can ask, around. If there's someone in that school, you can talk to them. Maybe someone in your field, you can talk to them, and they can help you speak with professors, in your school. There's something I will try, not to. I will try as much as possible not to want to, be too blunt about it. But also, relationship between China and your country matters a lot, to some scholarships. Maybe not all scholarships. Yeah, it matters a lot. And also, I know of, some researches that they wouldn't, because of the culture that are specific to some countries, the professors might not take students there because they need data from those areas. So they might not take students from those areas. They might want to take students from some specific. Okay, let me cite, for instance, there are some cultures where maybe if I am the elder brother of Linda, or if I'm a cousin to Linda, I can get married to Linda. There are some cultures, like that. Some professors are doing some research in that area or in that specialization, things that are related to that. So if you are coming from maybe Ghana, or maybe Cote d'Ivoire, or maybe maybe Zimbabwe, all right? If you are coming from, those areas where things like that are seen as an abomination, as incest, so maybe your chances of securing a position with such professors who are doing doing researches on some of those areas, maybe your chances might be your chances might be very slim. So it's important to know some of these. There are a lot of factors actually. There are a lot of factors. If you have maybe a country mate or someone from your country who just finished from a lab, or who has been in a lab before, but who has a kind of an attitude that the professor does not like, that is a that might be a trigger that would not make a professor to accept you. So a lot of factors are involved in this. And also most professors we request for research proposals. Yeah, it's good you put together a research proposal. There are like specific scientific formats, specific scientific flow that a proposer we always take. There are resources online, you can search them out, try to structure your research in line with that. But basically structure your proposal in line with what they are doing in a specific or in a particular lab where you want to apply to. So that is very, very important. Very, very important. Wow. So what else? Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yomi. It's nice that you have itemized some of the major ways of getting a supervisor in China. And just for the emphasis sake, one of it that he mentioned was you may need a recommendation from people or from scholars who are already in China. You could also do that through checking ResearchGate, Google Scholars. You could also send your cold email to professors. And then if you have an insider in the school, for example, your country mate and some of those people, you could also link up to them. And also, you may not need any of these. Just send your cold email and then you can, when you have good documents, you have first class. We can't downplay, uh, brilliancy, intelligence in all of these. You have papers, you have academic publications, you have been awarded many, scholarships, you have been part of some research groups. This could also work well for you. Uh, Dr. Matthew, over to you. For Nigerians specifically, do you would like to tell us maybe some special application requirements that you think that could be helpful?
Okay, thanks so much once again. So, as we could see, Dr. Gaz has really, deep into uh, one of the most important aspects because we are very specific this time around for PhD. Like I do dole out this orientation that the consideration for master's applicants takes less energy when it comes to preparation of their documents and their application processes compared to PhD applicants. And that is where the areas of recommendation matters, trying to secure the professor, a prospective supervisor, and which we could say that Dr. Gals really explains in detail. So another thing I really feel based on experience is that, of course, you ask in specific that about Nigerians. I know applications into different scholarships is not mainly meant for Nigerians, even though we have we have so many Nigerians. As well as one is to, make comparison in proportion to other African nations. And of course, it's not just only China. We have a lot of Nigerians all over the world. I think statistically, they said in every 5 Africans, three is there's chances of having three who are Nigerian. Yeah, in every 5. So definitely anywhere you go, not just China. So, but another thing I was trying to talk about is for PhD applicants, anyone coming to China needs to come with the zeal, the readiness to work. And what do I mean by this? Is from experience, not just even I think there was a time I was discussing with Bulgarians and it was the same. It's just the same in most schools in China. As PhD student, you must have the mindset that you are coming to do your work yourself. Most master students, even with the previous work they are doing with research, they have uh, most of them, do work under maximum guidance of their supervisors. But from experience, not just from few of us, but from a large pool of people that we have sampled, there's this natural trend that most supervisors they just leave it to your work. So you have to be ready to make a lot of rigorous self-learning. So it is not going to be a place for lazy minds who are not ready to sit down and make a lot of self-learning. So anybody coming as paid applicants must come with that enthusiasm, that readiness to work, that readiness to stay days in lab, that readiness to do research, independent research, readiness to know how to write paper, publications, and all of that. So that's for that. And one thing is, I can say with a very strong boldness that when it comes to some of these tough things, you always see Nigerians there. Like the popular slogan, they say Nigeria know they carry last. So even in those end where people are doing rigorous job, you always see Nigeria. I have it several times when like Linda was here, those times where Linda is always in the lab. In fact, for her to even pick call is difficult for her to reply to chat. So it is all the product of all this rigorous self-learning process. So, and I think that is one of those things that makes it somehow different from the way it is in probably in places like the US. Uh, One thing is because maybe I don't know if it's also a generic phenomenon that very often foreign students are always having a different workstation. For example, in the maybe for us in the US, you have either you're from Pakistan, from Nigeria, from US, from Canada. Once you're with your supervisor, you can share the same offices. But I think most places, most schools in China, there are different offices for foreign students, while they are different for Chinese students. I've seen that in my school. I've seen that in I've also had colleagues sharing the same thing. So, which makes sharing of knowledge somewhat difficult. And this is one reason why anyone coming to this place needs to have that mindset that you want to do a lot of self learning. So you and of course there are. I'm not sure if the general application material has been highlighted. So which is, for example, says I'm a thesis scholar, and I think basic there are basic application materials that are general. I think to every either CSC or ANSTO or whatever scholarship in China, and that is number one is your CSC application form, which has to be filled and submitted online. Your two application form, for example, for people applying for CSC, you have to fill and submit the CSC application form. Then your school's application form. Also, what they call the examination form. All of these things is easy to find on most schools. I mean, on the website of both CSC and the school, which I mean the school of choice of any applicant, and also the study plan. There's a need for study plan. I think Dr. Giles also made mention of that. Which is going to be a I think 5 to 6 page document, going to comprise of just a sort of highlight of what you intend to do, what you intend to research on. That's the study plan, and of course uh, the the visa. Recently, I think it's also important to tell our people that there's a new change to for especially for CSC applicants. If we could recall in previous years, there are opportunities for three options. That is, if you want to explore the CSC application, you can select three schools. But now it has been reduced to one, just one. Yes, so people can confirm this from the CSC website. There's this very popular blogger in China. That I saw it on there. So instantly I went to also browse and I saw it on the CSC website. So meaning that it's now going to be what's going on more competitive. So if you select a school and the school doesn't pick you, probably that will be the end for that application session. So definitely some of these things uh, probably the way things work in China, they review things very often. So it might still be probably the chances might be increased to two later on, but it's important we intimate our people with that. So also the it's also important that anybody that's applying should why I'm stating this is because I know of somebody who got rejected even after getting the scholarship. I mean, in our school, we were having an orientation, and the one of the staff, one of our international college staff, was saying that the reason why the guy was not picked is because of the visa page, the duration that was available on the visa. Of course, when you're applying, you have to submit the data page of your passport, rather, not visa, sorry, the international passport. So if you are having a duration that is less than a year, it could be a factor that will affect. The reason is because most people, even while after securing the scholarship, they based on the explanation the woman was given. I mean, the woman gave is that, for example, if somebody who is having just 1 year on his international passport this thing, and the person got admitted, he entered China with the 30 days this thing. So mean that after a year, they will start, the person will have to go and renew again. I mean, get a new passport, and it will take them extra, effort to to process residence permit on the new passport. So they feel that those stress are just unnecessary. So this is some of the caution the woman was trying to, that we should tell our people. Anybody that is going to apply should have at least 3 to 4 years available on the database. So I'm going to stop at that point. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Matthew. Thank you for that expository advice. Thank you, everyone. Linda, a quick one. Could you just identify some scholarships that are very, famous in China that people can just itemize them for us, for masters, for PhD, or any other scholarships that you could just list for us briefly?
Okay, thank you so much. So when it comes to China, very famous and very commonly accessible is the CSE scholarship, which I finished with. So it's open for masters, it's open for undergrads, and it's also open for PhD students. So aside from the CSE scholarship, there's ANSU. ANSU scholarship is well paid when it comes to PhD as compared to CSE. So ANSU offers for masters and it goes for PhD as well. So you could apply for ANSU, masters, and PhD. So aside from CSE and ANSU scholarship in China, most universities have university scholarship. So of which you could also apply for. A lot of universities in China have university scholarship. Aside from that, there are also agreements between China and other countries that allow for exchange between these countries. So a very common one is the Road and Belt Scholarship, especially with countries that have some construction ties with China. So there are a lot of scholarship, but mainly in order to access them, I would encourage you go to the school website, you check admissions, you check scholarships, and then you will see what scholarship who you could apply for if you are interested in the school. So when it comes to China, the list of scholarship is not limited, but very common is CSC and INSO. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. A quick one, Dr. Yomi. Do you feel that, how would you like to talk about overcoming language barrier? Chin chan chan. People always just say chin chan chan, which has no meaning. So, could you tell us how you were able to manage your life with the language in just a few minutes?
Okay, can I be heard?
Yeah.
Life and language. Yeah, actually, I think that's an interesting thing that I always love to talk about, my life and the language, the culture, adjusting to the food and things like that. Yeah, uh,
We lost Dr. Gaius.
that's my personal experience. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You're back.
Oh, I see. Oh, I'm sorry. I just observed. I just found. I just noticed that I was connected to the Wi-Fi. Okay, so uh, the culture, the language, the food, and all those. It's one of the things that I love, talking about. And of course, if you have maybe some Chinese affiliates or friends or uh, colleagues, they always love to ask such questions. Hey, How are you feeling? How do you cope with? And and I can say my supervisor is a very fantastic person. Hardly do we meet, and he wouldn't ask how I've been coping. He asks generally after my welfare. Not all professors do that, but and it's everywhere too. Some professors don't care. Anywhere in the world, you see people are different. Some people, professors don't care about your personal life. You just do your research and they are okay. But my professor is he's always concerned about my family. Okay, but for me, maybe in terms of the culture, yeah, China is should I use extensively and intensively cultural place, such that you need to be mindful of your use of words, okay, and most especially when you are speaking English, there are some ways you pronounce some. I mean, there are some ways you we use words that to them maybe might sound maybe uh, impolite, or maybe lacking in courtesy, something like that. So because generally the Chinese culture is such that the Chinese people are very polite. They are very polite culturally. They are very polite. The way they use words, the way they are similar to maybe West African Yoruba people that always the way they use words when they use it when they say a word, oh, this is an elderly person, so they don't just so they are very very polite. So generally you just need to be polite, just move along with the flow. Sometimes when I want to address maybe a professor, I need to ask one of my colleague, okay, so is it polite to maybe address the professor as maybe Professor Matthew or Professor Jayeola, maybe to address him by his family name or by his first name. So they might, oh, okay, you can address him this way. Sometimes I ask, if I use this word, is it polite? You just need to be. So in terms of the culture, generally, they are very highly cultural people, and that's one of should I say that's one of the cultural shock that I met here. Highly advanced in technology and highly industrialized, but at the same time, the cultural aspect is still very strong. So, yeah. So, which other thing do I need to talk about?
Yeah, yeah, I think you've done a good job for us. Let me quickly go to Dr. Matthew. Dr. Matthew, do you think that Nigerians or Africans can access African foods? Is it possible to be homey in China?
To an extent, I would say yes, because
Yay!
because when I came here, I found it so difficult, just eating rice and all the time. So I had to probe into how I could secure some African like meat and uh, 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 is it, for example, of course, I'm from the Yoruba tribe, and our favorite meal in Yoruba is mostly swallow, iyan, amala, and all of these things. So, but somehow those things might really not be here, but I improvise. So I try rice flour, which is a swallow. I try corn flour. I try wheat. Then I've forgotten the name of another one. So most times when I take those things, I feel at home. I feel back home, and I eat them very well. So I believe they are more like a substitute. Of course, not also not also taking away the fact that there are few of our mates here, but they are basically from most of our African people who deals in importation of African food, and so which means they are really expensive to an extent, depend on the pocket of that student. So it's to me, I would just feel it's better to employ the blend of the Chinese like African meal with the few ones that we have, like pando yam and all of that. So I would say yes. But it depends on the readiness of such an individual foreigners to secure those food. But I think there are a lot of there are few of people, from Nigeria, from Ghana, who sell gari, who sell, plantain, who sell, ugu, who sell ogbono, and Milo, and all of these very, I think, pounded yam, just few. I mean, just to mention few. So anyone coming here will also feel at home. It's not going to be a business of eating rice all the whole days of your program here. So, but most importantly, I think it's boiled down to choices. Some people are satisfied; they're okay with, eating rice. I have a friend that he eats rice every day. I mean, he eats rice every day. So, but to me, I have to, I have to improvise. I love traveling.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in China, you have access to wheat, you have access to different flour, you have
Yeah,
access to pepper, you have access to tomatoes, and they have different fishes. If you want to go to cooking, just look for Walmart, and then you can see cocoyam. If you are
mm,
from the eastern part, you want to make what's the name of that soup with cocoyam and all of that. So okra is there, and vegetables. They have a lot of vegetables also. So
yeah.
Linda, a quick one. Uh, are there jobs available for students or after study, and then you can have this? Are there any racism effect you felt, or you think it could be a problem for someone who is just moving to a new country?
Oh, thank you so much for the question. So, when it comes to job opportunity in China, as a student, traditionally, international students cannot work in China during their study period, and foreign citizens cannot obtain visa for work as well without at least staying or working for like 2 years, without staying for like 2 years after studies in order to get work visa. But recently, I learned that there are change or reforms in the policy with regards to students working and schooling. But I don't know how much this policy had been put in action. Maybe it's just a policy because it has been announced. At least I saw it on news that there is reform on the policy. But if it is already in play, that I can't tell. However, some students have the opportunity, especially if you have a very supportive supervisor, there's possibility of you to get internship while studying. So that's also possible. So I would encourage that if you have the intention to do some part-time job, or maybe you would want to do internship, or maybe you would like to do work and study, please ensure to ask from people who had studied in that school, or maybe with that professor, because there are some professors that you would not even have time to eat because you work with them. If I have to be sincere with you, but if you want me to speak as though everything is sweet, I can also do that. But I would encourage you make verifications before working with some professors, because there are some of them that even the 3 4 years of study is not enough. So for you to be able to meet up and graduate in due time, you would discover that even your Sundays will be spent in the lab. Some nights will be spent in the lab. To be truthful, and this cuts across regardless of the country you're studying. You okay? So please ensure to make some findings before coming, so you don't feel discouraged. So when it comes to racism in a community with people of different colors, actually racism cannot be it can't be totally ignored or neglected or said or being said not to exist or something like that. Definitely there will be racism, okay? People would see you because you're dark and they want to cross the road because they don't want to walk on same lane with you. All those things happen. But how do Linda tend to handle things like that? How do I tend to handle racism? how do we handle racism is actually what is most important. So for me, I handle it by reforming my mindset towards it. What do I mean by reforming my mindset towards it? I cannot hide away from a racist. No, you should hide away from me because you have a problem. I don't have a problem. Okay? So if anyone acts racial towards me, in as much as you don't touch me, all I just have in the back of my mind is this person is uneducated, this person is unexposed. So
False.
if you see me and you want to act racial towards me, definitely you are uneducated, you are unexposed, so I don't blame you, but just keep running, it's okay. But if you touch me as much as a hair in my skin, I would report you to the necessary authority. I wouldn't take it lightly because you have a problem. So I report you to the police and they help you solve your problem. So basically, I tell people in this 21st century, especially within the youth, if it's the older ones, I can understand because mainly some of them had not seen black persons before. Like I could remember when I came into China newly and I came in with braids. When I go to supermarket, I see lots of women, the elderly ones, they want to take pictures with me. I freely allow them to take the photos as much as they want. They snap with me, they touch my hair. It's okay. I understand. It's because maybe because they have not seen someone of my color before, or maybe they have not seen such kind of braid before. It's fine. It's okay. I'm so friendly to allow you to take pictures with me as much as you want. But the youth, the upcoming youth who I expect should be educated, if when I see them act racial, for me, I just feel this person requires civilization and some mental checkup. That's it. So, when for me, I just think anywhere you go, regardless of the country, in as much as there are people of different colors, you would see racism. You would see it in full action. It will occur. You would see it maybe in your place of work, in school, at home, or anywhere. But I just feel if people would take it the way I take it, maybe it would be less painful. Just try to change the mindset. You are not the one to run away from this racial person. Whoever that is the racist in question should be the one running away. And when the person is running away, just feel you are not the one at fault. This person is uneducated and this person is unexposed and this person requires civilization and maybe a mental checkup. That helps you to be fine. Okay. So that's how I handle it. And it's been all good. Yeah. Thank
Wow,
you.
thank you very much, Linda. On a quick note, Dr. Yomi, do you have maybe a few of advice for applicants who are interested in China?
Thank you very much. Maybe I should pick it up from where Linda stopped and uh, tie it up with the question you've asked me. Yeah. I know quite a lot of toxic and negative reports are out there about China. Okay. But I will please want to tell you that don't don't absorb, all of them. If you've not experienced something, uh, don't uh, don't just take them with a pinch of salt. Don't take them, at face value. I mean, yeah, don't just take them at face value. Rather, don't take them, with like everything depends on it. You just see something in the news and you absorb everything. Come on, you see something in the news in the media and you base your uh, you base your ideology or you base your conviction on that. I think it's I think it's not correct. It's not correct. So uh, everyone has different experience. All right. Uh, I've had my own fair share of the experience, and just as Linda said, it's what we term as racism many a times is due to ignorance and is due to lack of exposure. I've seen people that have seen people of my skin color in the media before, but they've not seen them physically, and they want to come there and they want to ask questions. All right, and some of them some of them base their questions on some of the we know the way negative news spread. All right, We know the way people of our skin color have been demonized, have been painted, wrongly, have been, the way the propaganda of single stories about us, the way it is. So some of them, have seen it as well, and they just want to confirm. All right. So I have a lot of, personal experience, and of course, when the people came in contact with me, their mindset changed, and eventually some of them were the best of friends. So it's simply because they don't know. All right. Now tying it to what Dr. Ayo asked me to speak about. What I want to advise you: forget all the negative, stories. Forget all the single stories, all the terrible things you've heard about China. There are a lot of terrible things outside. Please don't believe them. You want to study. You want to add value to yourself. Okay, and you have the opportunity, if you can secure a scholarship, to study free of charge. If people like us don't come here, how would they know, about us in the first place? Then it means for generations, for years, such negative assumptions that they've had about us, we continue, to flow. In fact, let me shock you. One of the researchers in my lab, many a times is always, scared or afraid anytime I copy him in a mail that I want to send to my supervisor, because he always feels, hey, the way my professor relates, with this guy, with this yummy of a guy, it's like there's no difference. I go to his office, even some of the students are like, wow, you go to professor's office? Because he's a big man, he's a senior, you understand? And it gives me audience. If I send him an email that maybe I want to see, things like that. And I am from, obviously, my parents are from Africa, I'm from Nigeria, and, but the way he treats me with respect, with courtesy. So forget all the negative stories, please. And if you have the opportunity to secure a scholarship, to study for free, to learn a new culture, to learn a new language, to know about a new place, I think you should consider China. We all our life have been, we speak English. All we've been watching is Hollywood movies. Everything about us is about the Western part of what they call, the West, right? Maybe the Western civilization. Come and, have some experience about China as well. Learn a new culture, learn about new people. And please, I want to disabuse your mind about something. Maybe for those that want to apply for masters or a PhD. Sometimes we have this news all around that, if you've not published a paper, maybe as a first author or as a co-author, that it might be difficult for you to secure maybe a scholarship or to have a supervisor. Please, it is not always true. And that applies everywhere in the world. It is not always true. I have seen people with a second class lower, with a third class, with an HND, secure fully funded scholarships, fully funded, postgraduate programs in the United States. All right. So don't say, because I don't have a publication. No. Don't say because I don't have an international passport, so I don't want to start to apply. I will encourage you, if you have the passion and, the desire to add value to yourself. It's free. Nobody's charging you for, most of the schools don't charge for application fee. So I will encourage you, don't be dissuaded or discouraged about the negative stories flying around. Make up your mind, add value to yourself. In just a matter of maybe 3 or 4 years, you've become another person. So I want to encourage you, please, dust yourself up. Start as early as possible. It's a new year, and shoot your shot based on some of the things we've said in this forum. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you very much for that last word of advice. It's so welcoming.
Please, can I say this? Can I say this,
yes.
please? Yes. There's this saying in Nigeria that half bread is better than, some people will say maybe chin chin. Some people will say, half bread is better than puff puff, whichever way. Okay, it's if you feel, they've talked a lot of negative things about this place. Some supervisors are harsh. It is always, like that everywhere in the world. I have friends all around the world, and they've shared experiences with me. If you're like, I don't understand Chinese, but half bread, okay? A wise, man will try to understand what I'm saying. Half bread is better than puff puff.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yomi. On that final note, it's so suiting to see you telling scholars back home that you don't actually need many publications, or you have to be first author before you apply or to get some things done. So scholars back home, this is just to encourage you. If you have those documents, it is good for you, and if you don't have them, that shouldn't stop you also from submitting your applications. And Dr. Matthew, could you give some word of advice to applicants who are interested in China?
Yes, to corroborate what Dr. Giles just said, you see, it's also important to motivate our people that if you are to compare, uh, the cost to the cost if you take anyone to apply to schools in China. So if you have to compare that to other schools in the US, in Canada, I think the gap is really wide. I could recall, myself applying to, I mean, when I sent my application to this school, the only naira it cost me was just 15,000 naira, and that was the amount that I used in sending my physical documents through DHL in when I was in OAU then, down to my school here. The application, there's no application fee, and if you intimate them that we have more than 250 universities in China, standard university, with infrastructures, with what I mean, with what is enough for anyone to enjoy we standardized schools abroad. So with with those things in mind, I think it's enough to motivate anyone, meaning that there's a lot of options for anyone to choose from. Over 250, I think over 300 universities, with standard equipment and facilities. So I will just encourage more that there's this notion that people do prepare that one of the reasons why Nigerians are proliferating, many schools, most Nigerians are traveling out, just go do masters, go do PhD. If you go to China, you see that most blacks are Nigerian. You go to Australia, most blacks are Nigerian. Go to Canada, go to US. So we need to let people know that we are serious minds. You see, I was in a forum, I was on Clubhouse. I mean, I was making a confusion because people who visit Clubhouse would attest to the fact that the Afro Americans, they really have special bitterness for Nigerians. They don't talk about Africa, they talk about Nigerians. Why are Nigerians leaving their country? They just come to our country to get their jobs. They come for this masters and PhD. So we need to start sending the message to them that we are not just leaving Nigerians to japa, like people will say. Not as if we don't have the enthusiasm to study. Indians have been exposed to education as far back as the early 90s. We have our fathers traveling, going on self-sponsored programs into very expensive countries like US and UK. So we should replicate those things. We shouldn't. The motive of coming to China to come and study should not be on the basis of I just want to leave the country. If you are coming here for masters, if you are coming here for PhD, come with that zeal, come with that readiness, come with that wit, that mindset to study and to come out, in flying color. So those are the few advice I have. Thank you, Mr.
Well, thank you very much. This is mind blowing. Linda, on the last note, any advice for scholars, for applicants who would like to come and study in China?
Okay, thank you. I would like to say China is a very beautiful place. But one thing you should always have in mind is when you come to China, you would work. Yes, it's not so easy. You would work, and if you want to make value for yourself, you will make value for yourself. Prior to my coming to China, I had a lot of things that would have discouraged me, but I came and I'm happy I did. because it helped me grow. Like, I grew mentally, I grew academically, I grew. For instance, before I came here, yes, everyone knows Linda is outstanding academically, but my mindset towards studies, towards research is different, is more improved. Like the way I see research now is not like the way I do see it while in Nigeria. So when you come, have the right mindset, know that you're coming to give value for yourself, for your country, for your continent, and for the world. Ensure you have aim. Know that it's for you. Maybe that will help you do better. So China is a great place, regardless of what people would say, regardless of whatever is happening, regardless of the COVID restriction and everywhere and all the lights. Please apply and come. I've been in China and I'm healthy. I'm fine. I never had COVID.
No more
So
COVID
I have a lot of
restrictions.
stories. Yes, I have a
Yeah,
lot of stories. So come,
China
okay?
is free.
Apply. You will be good. There's racism everywhere, not just in China. Things are up and down everywhere. Even in your country, things
Mhm.
are up and down. So you just come and you have focus. Your main focus is getting the right education from a top rank university. You don't even have to pay and you'll be paid to study. But ultimately, while applying, do well to pray. Please, I would always say this anytime, any day. Pray so that you get the right supervisor, so that you get the right school, so that you study the right course, and so as to become the right person in future. You turn, look at yourself, and you smile, and you're happy of who you have become after studying in China. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Thank you, Dr. Yomi. Thank you, Dr. Matthew. I'm so privileged to be your moderator.